very hot to near record temperatures this weekend in Florida, right? With temperatures 10 to 15, approaching 10 to 15 degrees above normal, especially along the east coast of Florida into Miami, Sarasota, Tampa, Palm Beach. And if we go out west, we also have very hot temperatures, with the hottest temperatures being in the desert, Colorado Springs, Amarillo, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. And you can see here where the hottest temperatures above normal will be today and then through the weekend, with hot temps persisting into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And I'm going to briefly go over the different areas here that have the most impacts in the next 3 or 4 days. And into the coming days, we'll talk about that as well. So as we start this forecast, I want to show you the 500 millibar height anomalies here. This is a good depiction of the overall flow, right? So to start with today, mid-level height falls off the coast here. Height rises all the way up into Canada here. Height falls here. High pressure at the mid-levels up here. So with the high pressure in these areas, Florida and in the western U.S., that's where you have the hottest temperatures, right? Cooler temperatures with the 500 millibar anomalies here in the east, right? So you have different patterns here interacting, right? So when you have height falls to the west, you get height rises to the east. The atmosphere is always trying to compensate, right? So this is what's contributing to our high temperatures here. You have high pressure overhead. It's hard to get precip and lift, right? So, and anyway, it's dry as a bone out here in Arizona anyway, but you have high pressure right over top, and that makes it even worse. Okay. Of course, at the low levels, high pressure is a different area than the mid-level high. So I'll show you that on the map here, and you can generally make it out right, although um, it's not depicted. High pressure at the surface here. Remember your 500 millibar height falls, or maybe in this area. But you can see low pressure at the surface here, and high pressure at the surface this way. It's depicting maybe a high pressure out here, but the mid-level high maybe down here, right? So that's, you see the lines of equal pressure here. Okay, that depicts in the dark lines here, the red lines, you have higher pressure, right? So, and this is kind of the center of it here, 564, right? So you have 999 millibar for low. Doesn't really show the high pressure value here because it's not really strong enough to show that, but that's what that is. Basic description there. I could go in a lot more detail. I could spend all day talking about it, but anyway, moving forward with this, we can look at the surface features here on the map. All right, 5 a.m. today. Maybe some showers and storms pushing through the south here, right? This high pressure builds even at the surface, builds even more up here. See this all the way up here? Okay. Just suppressed precipitation anywhere in this area. Okay. So this is Sunday. And that's different. It's different than the patterns being, right? So it persists and maybe moves to the east. You can see the height rises are still up into here and here, right? You have more precip finally making its way into Florida and Georgia, right? With this trough. See the trough digging down, so the high pressure is being suppressed out this way, okay? And this low is trying to make its way on shore, but high pressure is in control out here out west. And this is Monday. By the way, this is a GFS model. All right. Maybe they have a low pressure wanting to develop here in the Mountain West, although weak. I'm not so certain this is going to do much, but based on the high pressure at the surface here, there may be a mid-level feature moving through that's bringing this out. So we can look at that real quick. Let's see here. 500 millibar height anomalies. Yeah, so we got high pressure at the mid-levels. We have this mid-level low vorticity moving through, but you could see where the highest pressures are at the mid levels, right? So you have this almost a closed low here, not quite because you have this, but moving into the western U.S. as we get towards Wednesday. So we'll probably have some cooler temperatures as we get towards the middle of the week down here. You see where the center of the high is now, Intermountain West. Northwest flow persists here, and you have this flow coming from this way down to the south, which I'll talk about in a different segment because this is more about the heat. Could bring some unsettled weather to these areas, right? So we'll have to see how that plays out. Anyway, that's it for the flow pattern and what's causing the heat, at least in my mind, for the next several days. So this is a real special segment. I think it's very important to talk about the heat out west and in Florida this weekend because this is the first time this year it's going to be this hot, right? I'm trying to move my thing over here, hard to really put it in the right place. Anyway, forecast high temperatures in the Phoenix area, of National Weather Service area of operations here. You have extreme heat warnings, El Centro Joshua Tree National Park in Phoenix here. And you see in Maricopa County, if you live there, if you lack access to air conditioning, free transportation and cooling centers available 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily through Arizona 201. So that's important. All right, I'm going to move this over. Man, this is annoying. Anyway, okay, so the highest temperatures timing Saturday, May 10th, 10 a.m. through Monday, May 11th, 8 p.m. Forecast high temperatures 100 to 108 degrees on Sunday, Monday 102 to 110. I know I'm parroting this, but I think it's important to say this, right? Maybe some people don't have access to the National Weather Service forecast, right? High risk of heat stresses for anyone without effective cooling. You gotta get adequate hydration. Of course, stay hydrated. Don't go out in the sun during this time, and for God's sake, don't go out hiking or something. Okay? Use air conditioning. Fans may not be adequate. If you do have to go out, wear lightweight, loose-fitting clothing. Stay in the air conditioning. And I'm sure out west here in the desert areas here, there's a lot of different things you can do to stay cool if you need to. Go to a friend's house if your air conditioning dies or something like that. Find somewhere to stay cool, all right? So the hottest temperatures of the year are going to be on Monday, all right, May 11th. The lower desert communities look to be the most affected, all right? And you see this, again, stay hydrated, reduce time between outdoors and indoors during the day, wear light-colored clothing, lightweight, check on elderly and pets, moderate to major impacts, high risk of heat-related illnesses for much of the population, okay, without protective action. So Phoenix Metro, going to be in the 107 to 109 degree range. Deserts, 106 to 111. Going to be brutal out here, okay? I'll be praying for you all out here. Stay safe, please. Temperature outlook over the weekend into next week. Move this over. Get this out of the way. Phoenix, Friday, which we already had. This was put out yesterday. Today, 104. Sunday, 106. I say this like it's no big deal, but it is. 108 on Monday. Cooling off, 105. These are temperatures, right? These aren't actual real field temperatures. Real field temperature is going to be a little bit less, but close to 100 degrees nonetheless because it's so dry out here. 102, 101 on Thursday. UMail Centro today, 104. Sunday, 107. Of course, you see the hottest temperatures as they go through the week. And Globe, Miami. I never heard of those cities in Arizona, but they're there. Approaching 100 degrees temperature here on Monday, cooling off to the 90s, cooling off. The 90s as we get towards the middle of the week. So the dangerous heat continues also into in California. This is from the Hanford, California forecast area. Monday and Tuesday temperatures are forecast to be 15 to 20 degrees above normal. Moderate weather, heat-related impacts. High temperatures 97 to 102 degrees in the San Joaquin Valley, and overnight lows in the 70 to 74 degrees in the urban areas and foothills below 1,000 feet. So overnight temperatures at that level make it very difficult for people without air conditioning to recover from the daytime heat. So that's what I've learned as becoming a meteorologist. I talk about the biggest impacts aren't necessarily the daytime heat related stuff, although if you go out in the sun and try to do some work, you definitely have a problem. But the elderly and vulnerable populations are more at risk with nighttime temperatures that don't give any relief. All right, so it's especially prevalent in the areas that don't normally have air conditioning. But in this case, this is the first time this year we're having the heat. People aren't used to it. So you see the different things I talk about you should do, okay? Here's the extreme heat warning for California. You see where it is: Beaumont, Palm Springs, Thermal, Borrego Springs, Osceola Wells, Osceola. This is from the San Diego forecast office, okay? So here's your forecast high temperatures on Saturday: 106, 105 down here in the Palm Springs, Thermal, Osceola Wells, Borrego Springs, Osceola, El Centro, California. Sunday in the hundreds, approaching 110 actual air temperatures here in the same areas in Southern California. 110, approaching 110 in Thermal here. No wonder it's called Thermal, right? Palm Springs. I don't know why it's called Palm Springs, because it's brutal, right? You would think Palm Springs would be cool, right? But you can see it's hot even up into Ameens Lake, Yucca Valley, all in Southern California here. Even in San Diego, 77 degrees with that maybe a sea breeze kicking in, right? So if you can, maybe go to the coast this weekend or go to the Oat Beach and hang out there. At least you get some relief there, right? So moving into Tuesday, cools off some. Still hot in the desert, the valleys here and out west, approaching 100 degrees in Southern California once again. Now, as we move into Florida, we still have the heat here as well. It's different because this heat is more related to actual real field temperatures. Although the actual temperatures are going to be hot, high temps are forecast to reach upper 80s and 90s, mid 90s each day. Right, so with the mid 90 temperatures in the humidities levels being high, that leads to apparent temperatures a lot higher than the actual air temperatures. So approaching 100 degrees humidity levels, like with the humidity factored in, right? So what happens is your skin cannot evaporate the moisture when you sweat, and you just feel hotter, right? And you can't cool off, and that's your body's mechanism for cooling off, right? So if it can't cool off, then your internal heat gets higher. If you don't do something about it, you could be a little bit in trouble there. So if I were you, I wouldn't go to the theme parks today or tomorrow. I mean, look how hot it's going to be. Major heat risk in the urban areas of Orlando, all along the east coast of Florida, which I think is pretty unusual here. Probably due to lack of a sea breeze here, although right along the coast, I imagine like right exactly along the coast will be cooler. Orlando Metro, Space and Treasure Coast. So all along the east coast here and the Okeechobee, Lake Okeechobee as well. So if you're going to go boating, you got to be careful as well. Although if you get in the water, it might be all right, but I would stay in the shade, okay? So today for the Melbourne area weather forecast office, 90s for high temps. The real field temps are going to be hotter than that, okay? Moisture is going to be increasing down here. So tight as fill. See, even along the coast here, it's not going to be cool, right? Brutal. All right, so the sea breeze is really not going to have much of an effect here. If you get a little bit of a breeze, you'll be lucky, but this is very unusual here. Orlando, 94. Chance of rain is highest in the Titusville and Daytona Beach area. All right. Now here's the records for May 9th, which is today. So the record highs here are in this column. Average, high, low are over here. So I think we might be approaching some records here in Florida over the weekend. So here's the probabilities of maybe major heat risk. And they depict this as a third of 4 levels, right? Which major extreme is just like incredible, right? So then they talk about this here with the unseasonable warm temperatures both day and night. Stewart, Florida, Melbourne, Vero Beach today. This is all today, right? Highest impacts. So these 4 areas, 5 areas, Orlando, Fort Pierce, Vero Beach, Melbourne, Stewart, even through Monday, have the highest impacts from heat. And thankfully, after that, and further to the north and south here, the impacts are less. This is the probability of major heat risk. So high probabilities here, okay? Remember what we talked about, drink plenty of water, do all these things this weekend. And just as a reminder, here are things you need to do, right? Do not reduce time in the sun, limit outdoor activities, remain in an air-conditioned room if at all possible, drink plenty of water, wear light, loose-fitted clothing, don't go out for a run, or don't try to do any strenuous activities outside. This applies to the Florida and points out west, okay? So anybody who's in the risk areas should read this, right? Be careful out there, y'all. God bless y'all. Hope you have a good day. Stay safe this weekend. Take care. Love y'all. God bless.